gentlemen, one and all, to Beardychiel's Knitting Banter, episode 25. Quarter of a century. Oh my god, no, episode 26. Quarter of a century was the last one. God, I'm getting old. It's wonderful to have you back with me. I haven't been with you for about a month because I have been like a headless chicken doing some knitting to meet specific deadlines for myself and to get one or two things finished so that they could be put into the public domain in different ways. And it's all over and done with now, and I'm just back from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So it's EYF, EYF, EYF galore this particular episode, and some other things. But what exactly are the other things? Well, we have some whips, as always. I have some book information. Part of that is EYF stash, part of it isn't. I have EYF itself, so information on podcasters, vendors, viewers, stash, and a look around the event and some interviews. I've got information on the Beardychiel Rhodes Retreat 2018. I have some other yarny information for you, and I have some information on Perth Festival of Yarn. So all in all, it's going to be a really busy episode. So where shall we start? Well, I'm going to start by having a nice cold drink because I've got a throat that feels as if it's lined with sandpaper. It's kind of rough. I thought, buy a water bottle and forever running around with cups of water. Let's have something I can cart around, and if I knock it over, I'm not going to spill anything with this one, thankfully. Oh, I'm glad that worked. If I'd covered Janet's dining room table in water, she would have killed me. Whips. Let's start at whips. What have I been knitting? Well, some of what I've been knitting over the last month has been prototypes for the Pentland Firth Shawl. And, oh well, okay, the Pentland Firth Shawl will pop up in finished objects. I will put in one finished object. And apart from that, I've been working on one CAL, me, in a CAL. I don't often get to participate in CAL, so I'm absolutely delighted. It's here. I'm not sitting in my comfy armchair today. I have brought it with me. And here is the offending item. This is a sock. And it is for the Cosmic Strings and Perth Festival of Yarn knit along, and this is a moss stitch, triple moss stitch sock on the front, and a really simple vanilla stocking stitch sole, a simple toe, and the reverse side of a broken rib to texture and thicken up the heel a little bit for me, because I am quite hard on heels, so I like something that's got a little bit more texture and thickness to it. The colourway is Warrior by Cosmic Strings, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's a gorgeous colourway, a really, really nice yarn. I have put the ball band somewhere so safe that I can't find it. You know what I'm like with ball bands. But I'm sure if you visit the Cosmic Strings Etsy shop, you will find the colourway and you will find details of its length per 100 grams. But it's really nice. Purples, golds, lemons, creams and blacks. Quite a masculine colourway in some ways. But with the added texture of the moss stitch, which I'm showing to the GoPro, we'll take footage from both places, is looking and feeling quite nice. This is just sock number one. In case you're wondering, the toe and heel are leftovers of a ball from John Dunballam at Easy Knitter. I couldn't waste it. It felt so nice. I thought, I'm going to have nice loud toes and heels. Let's make it a little bit extra length on the leg for myself. at my 50 grams per sock. So I'm absolutely happy. German short row heel, which fits for me, suits beautifully for me, and I mean there's enough stretch in this pattern to cover any thickness of instep. You know, it's just absolutely wonderful. So I'm happy with it. So that's whip number 1. There you go, that's quite quick so far for a first whip. Normally I gibber on like a budgie, but not today. Too much to get through. I'll put it down here on the chair beside me. Okay, whip number 2. This is in Little B Accessories project bag. Little B has rebranded as Granag Creations. Granag being the Gaelic for Greenock, and Greenock is where she is based in Scotland. And this is a circular heirloom baby shawl, which I am in the process of working on for my nephew and his other half, who have an impending arrival. And this is for Thomas and Ellie's bump, and it's coming on quite nicely. It's on a cable about 1 metre and a bit wide, and it's a fairly traditional garter stitch, spiralling central panel, and then there's a feather and fan section, and then there's another section to come. And this is a shawl which was knitted on numerous occasions by my ever spoken about Granny Mac, the one who taught me to knit. So this is one of the patterns that she used multiple times. There are multiple copies of it in the house. I'm using a reprint. I don't want the late 30s, early 40s version out of its folder, being handled by me and messed around with. I'm saving it. So I've got a 1970s reprint to work from to remind me what I'm doing. I'm working from a pattern, but they chose the heirloom shawl, and this is an old Shetland style pattern. It's being knitted in 2-ply lamb's wool, and it's a natural cream Marie Crew colour. It's not brilliant white. It is 100% wool, and this is going to have to go through a couple of processes in terms of washing, blocking or pinning out, as my granny called it, and softening before I hand it over. But it says a lot that it packs away amazingly into that tiny little bag. And I would say that so far what you see only weighs 20 grams. It's really feathery light, so I'm hoping that that is going to be an absolute godsend when it all goes together. And whip number 3 is here. This is whip number 3. Whip number 3 is some fibre prep. And we have here a pile of lovely white fluff from some fibre I've been sorting and skirting, and I had a seconds bag of things which I thought were super dirty or needed extra special care from me, and I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do with that. So I stuck it in a sink, I gave it a soak, I gave it some rinses, and it has been through my combs, not near a card, but simply through my combs, and I have this lovely bag of fluff which I'm going to spin, and the stuff that didn't go through my combs went through my cards and ended up like this. So some of it stayed as it was. This has still got quite a lot of vegetable matter in it, which you pick out as you're spinning. It's not bad. I mean, as you're spinning, it just sticks out like a sore thumb. You drop it on the floor and hoover it up later. But it's lovely and soft. This I'll show you in a finished object in a little while. Dyes up beautifully because I had 2 balls which I blended with a little bit of Ryland from last summer that was sitting here. Just blended it on the cards, spun it up, and I've got a lovely hat out of it. And this is sort of almost the third quality. This is what's left over when the seconds wouldn't come out the combs. It was too short, but it carded and it spun fine. So we will have a look at that hat as well in a wee while. That's 2 finished objects. God, I'm doing more than I said I would. You talk about getting value for money, you guys. So, those are the whips. A relatively short bit so far. But what's next? I'm going over there. Well, the next are the books. A couple of months ago, one of my friends, Wendy Hilton, who is an American living here in Thurso, was kind enough to lend me a copy of this. Beardychiel, which is a Norwegian knitting pattern book. And I have Norwegian knitting friends, as you know, and I thought that the book, when I was looking through it, had some wonderful designs in it and some really great kids designs in it. And you know me, talking about knitting for the grandchildren. And I thought I would really love a copy of this. And can you get it in the UK? No, you can't get it in the UK. Can you find it online in Norway? Yes, you can find it online in Norway. Is there anywhere online in Norway that sends it to the UK? No, I couldn't find anyone. So I compromised. I messaged my friend Patricia from Knitography and I said, Patricia, are you coming to EYF? She said, yes. I said, would you do me a favour? Nip into a local bookshop and buy me a copy of Beardychiel, which she happily did, and I arranged to send her some money. And when we met on Friday, she said, your book's in my bag, your book's in my bag. And I picked up my copy of Beardychiel, and I am perfectly happy, and I am delighted with it. And there are some lovely photographs in it, and there are some lovely pattern ideas in it, for humans and for pooches, but mainly for humans. And I am going to explore, because some of the colour work in there I really like and I'm going to be tempted by, but it's going to be on a back burner compared to some other things. Some of the hats and scarves are quite nice, but I really liked, hang on, let's just see if I can find the one that made me want to buy the entire book. It was actually for Ian, more than anything else. Let me flick through. Where is it? Ah, there we go. This cowl neck sweater. I thought it looked really, really nice. Just really nicely textured, a nice different kind of collar line. And I thought Ian, those of you who know Ian, might quite enjoy that. So we'll suck it and see. I'll knit it, pass it on to him, and he will tell me whether or not he likes it. So, Beardychiel by Ingunn Myklebust, I think. Nice book, nice patterns. Let's hope that I can learn enough Norwegian for the translation of the knitting bits, and that'll be absolutely fun. Book number 2 was acquired at EYF. And as many of you know, I haven't bought patterns for almost 30 years. I just don't. Janet does, but as a rule I don't buy brand new patterns. I haven't needed to. Anything I've wanted to knit, I've simply created the pattern for it. But I've been inspired, I've been intrigued by the design work and the ideas and the process behind the work of some of Stephen West's designs. And since Stephen West happened to be at EYF, and I happened to be at EYF, and his books happened to be at EYF, West Knits is the Best Knits 2 had to be purchased. And since the man himself happened to be there, along with all the other nitty lovies that were there, I said, would you mind signing that for me? So, to Beardychiel, keep knitting kitten. I'm delighted. That'll go into my collection. I've already had a browse through whilst at breakfast this morning, and there are some amazing photographs in here. Some incredible design work, some nice original sketches from when the design work was being developed. I like it. A lot of it is absolutely fantastic. Some of it's a bit too experimental even for me. Some of it is absolutely adorable. Some of it is lovely. Some of the construction techniques I really appreciate. And I'm looking forward to maybe picking something from it to knit. I don't know. The fact that there are so many things in here which are just nice and big and I wouldn't say flowy, but dangly, drapey, wide, which would be suited to just about any body shape underneath, appeals to me. Me being a particularly less than standard body shape, I'm delighted. So it's a nice book to look through, wonderful ideas, lots of techniques, but after 47 years of knitting, there's nothing incredibly new in it. There's nothing that I haven't seen. Things are being used, techniques are being used in a slightly more innovative way, I would say, than is traditional. And that I appreciate. I really enjoy that. So from that point of view, it's going to be an absolutely incredible read. I'm really looking forward to settling down and having a right good chunter through it. So, Stephen West, West Knits, Best Knits 2, thank you very much. That was nice. It was lovely to meet the man, but he was so busy. How he managed to keep himself going, doing the public face without losing it for 3 days. What a consummate professional. My hat goes off to him. There's no way I could do that for 3 days. So those were my 2 books this time, both knitting books, which is unusual for me, as you are well aware. So I am delighted to have had those. And that takes us on to the big bit of this particular podcast. We are on to EYF. And what an amazing few days it was. Janet and I headed south on Thursday, and on the way south we stopped for a chat at Kincraig Fabrics in Brora and spoke to Pat there for a while. We intended to stop in for about 2 minutes just because we had stopped to get to the loo in Brora and just to say hi. And we were there chatting for an hour because we're both well, I'm hopeless. Janet helps being hopeless, but I'm more hopeless than she is. And Pat was absolutely lovely, and she said, where are you off to? And we told her, and she said, oh, have a lovely time. And we were chatting about other things that we're both going to be doing later in the year. And Janet said, oh, while I'm passing, tote bags. I'll buy 2 tote bags because we always buy too much yarn and we never have enough bags to carry them around in. And Pat was absolutely wonderful. She said, just take 2. With her compliments, take 2 of her canvas totes and enjoy your festival. So we spent our time wandering around Perth Festival of Yarn with Kincraig Fabrics tote bags hanging over our shoulders. Photograph going up somewhere. There is a photograph of me with a Kincraig bag that Janet took just as we were arriving at the Podcasters Lounge. And they proved incredibly useful because they're good square bottomed bags with good volume, so we got plenty in them. And we arrived in time to be there just in time for dinner. About 6 p.m. we get into Edinburgh. We hadn't arranged to go to Thursday's big knit night because we knew by the time we arrived it would be quite late. But we did book a couple of spaces at ACFA. which is a Scandinavian restaurant where the knitters tend to gather. So we went along to ACFA and presented our booking, and they said, oh, all the knitters are upstairs this evening. So we went upstairs in ACFA and turned round to look for an empty seat, and there were 2 empty seats, and sitting at the table with the 2 empty seats was Nathan Taylor and Karen from Karen Ravi on Instagram, and Karen's other half, Clement, and oh gosh, my brain has gone, hang on, I'm going to have to check. There are other names that I should not miss, which will be on Instagram, so I'll just nip into Instagram and get the names rather than be a complete pillock. So, who else was there? Let's see. Oh my god, this is it's been busy in here. Alright, we'll not try and do it that way, we'll try and do it this way. What else? I'm trying to, it was absolutely super. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Sorry, as I'm flicking through here, I'm seeing all sorts of photographs, some from EYF and some from other places, and all folk who I know. Let's see. Good Lord, this is a heck of a long list. Here's something, my friends make dozens and dozens of posts. Good God, maybe I'm following too many people, maybe that's just me. Although, I don't blame myself, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff to see and to mess around with. Who's this? Keith? No, Louise Hunt, it's not you. I know you were there and I was chatting to you. We'll get to you in a minute. We're still on Thursday night here. But anyway, suffice it to say, while I'm scanning through, I'll keep leathering. We settled down in Akval, we had something to eat, and we had a good long chat, and the good long chat was absolutely super. It was really nice to catch up with Nathan before I went to the festival, because Friday was his wandering around and socialising day, and Saturday and Sunday were his 2 teaching days, so he was, suffice it to say, going to be incredibly busy over the weekend. So I knew I would bump into him at some point. Thursday night was completely impromptu. We hadn't planned that, but it worked out quite well, which is wonderful news. Who else did I meet the Thursday? Was there anybody else on the Thursday? No, and that was it. Karen, Clement, Sia and Pip, I think, were there. Were they? No, that was Thursday, that was Friday. You know something, I've met so many people and they've all been so absolutely lovely and so great to chat to, I've lost track. I'll tell you, someday I'm going to go through my Instagram feed with you so that you see what I'm seeing, because it is absolutely hilarious, some of the things that are here. Some of the photographs from EYF are priceless, and absolutely super fun. Now, I'm not finding what I'm looking for at all, but what I'll do is any names that I miss in the monologue here, I will dig up and I'll stick into the editing at the bottom, and also. Thursday night was great. Back to the hotel, really good sleep, up early, gets to EYF, got parked beautifully, walks along to the queue, and of course Kirsty, Aileen, a crowd of Scots regulars, all already in the queue, bright and early. Turns the corner and there is my friend Carola. And what a smile and what a welcome. And she came and joined us for a chat in the queue. And that was great. And then Joe and Mika, who organise the festival, came along. She went, "Beardychiel, it's you. I'm glad you're here." And she chatted for a couple of minutes. And then she went off to do some ticketing and some admin. And at that, the doors opened and in we filed. Straight into the podcasters' lounge, dumped some bags and coats and grabbed a coffee because outside it was bitterly cold. So the coffee made a big change, a big difference to the entire body and finger temperature before I went anywhere near the marketplace. But as other folk arrived and came to drop off jackets and bags before they went shopping, Karen arrived with my book and great hugs were exchanged. Who else? Bertie and Poppet with cherries on top. Ellie, Skandia, Carola, Tipsy Nits, Louise Hunt, Caithness Craft, just loads and loads of friends. Bumped into every single one of them, was an absolute pleasure. We had a nice natter and I went and did my shopping. And the shopping was fun. The shopping was excessive. The shopping was everything I hoped it would be. And so did Janet. We both had a wonderful shopping time. And I met piles of vendors, many of whom I have known for a couple of years now, all of whom are absolutely brilliant fun. Some vendors I've spoken to I've had a right good natter to for the first time, when they had a quiet minute or two and we were just talking about yarns and things, and they were absolutely super. And of course, I split my marketplace time into 3 sessions. A browsing session, a shopping session, and a photographs and video session. But I know that in the last couple of years and the last couple of festivals, trying to snap decent video and get in and around the stalls has proved difficult. So this year I went for stills on some of the stalls, the ones which, as I was walking, they just caught my eye and I thought, oh wow, I really like the way that looks, I'm going to take a photograph of that. And I'll talk you through those, because I'm going to put up a montage of the stills further on and talk you through them. There are some interviews with podcasters and friends. Not many, because everybody was so busy, there was almost no time to do a lot of the interviewing and chatting that we hoped to do, because other folk were rushing to get photographs, grab bits of video. That was absolutely fascinating. There were 1 or 2 new friends made. Podcasters who I have watched or I have read bits about and watched a couple of videos and thought, oh wow, that's nice, that's interesting. Old friends from previous year, catching up, instantaneous hug and a big hello and a chat. Folk like Andrew and Andrea from Fruity Knitting, absolutely super to see them again. They were really, really lovely, really nice to catch up, really nice to have a chat about what we've been doing over the last 12 months, because we podcasters, we don't actually interact other than being in front of one another on screen when we're podcasting. Sometimes it's quite hard to keep up with what folk are doing, because how we manage it I don't know, but we all seem to have incredibly busy lives. But hey, that's just us. And a new addition to the friends list this time was Kirsty Glass, who was absolutely fantastic. What a lovely, lovely personality. So nice to chat to. Such an interesting perspective on things knitted. And she actually blew my mind. She blew me out of the water by chatting to me and asking about how I get into knitting and things, and then saying, oh, can I grab you somewhere quiet and do an interview with you? And I was sort of like, but you only interview famous people. In my head, I'm thinking, I don't merit that. I'm just I'm little, not physically, but commercially. I'm a very unimportant, small Scottish hand knitter and designer. And she thought that my knitting story from the age of 10 onwards was interesting, and asked would I spend time with her and do an interview. So I did, and it was fantastic to do, and I hope she gets some footage that's useful to her. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, so thank you very much, Kirsty, for showing an interest. I really appreciated it. It made me feel quite important for 10-15 minutes. I thought, well, someone who I respect is asking me questions about my journey, and that was really, really nice. Who else did I meet for the first time? Maria, Ninja Chickens. What a lovely good. Do you know something? Again, you meet all these folk. I met viewers. I met. Oh, so forgive me. My wedding ring is doing my head in. You may not have noticed before, but I don't normally wear a wedding ring. My wedding ring and I parted company almost 25 years ago, because I reached a physical size where my ring no longer fitted on my finger. I also had a terrible problem with eczema on my hands because of where I was working and some of the chemicals I was coming in contact with, and I stopped wearing it. And a couple of nights ago, Janet was clearing out her jewellery box and she said, oh look, there's your wedding ring. And I said, right, give it here, let's see. And lo and behold, it fits again. And I thought, right, I'm going to have value for money out of that. I paid quite a lot of money for that back in the day. We'll see how it goes. And I haven't got used to it yet because it still gets itchy and things. Anyway, it's nice to have gone back 30 years, 25 years. EYF was super. Only two things I can say. Roundup, photographs and interviews, or stash. My inclination is for the stash first, and from that I'll go straight into the photographs and the interviews and the voiceover. So I will swap cameras and do the stash bit, because it's too big to fit on the table. The stash is in this bag. So where shall I begin to tell the story of this lovely yarn affair? Yeah, I know. Leave the singing to Nathan Taylor. Okay. We're starting with some Easy Knitter Smoke doubloon is the colourway. And I took this back to my table and I sat down and said, look what I bought, Janet. And she said, you bought one of those last year. And I said, no, it's a different colour. I should know to trust my wife. I now have two 150 gram skeins of doubloon. But it is absolutely lovely. And now that there's 300 grams, I can feel what the Americans might call a sweater vest coming on, or a waistcoat. So we will wait and see, but it's absolutely lovely, and I think I'm going to enjoy it. So I now have 2 skeins of this one. They're very slightly different in tone. So if I'm working with them, I will probably just stripe them and the stripes will vanish. But that's that. Where am I going to put these? I'll stack them in front of myself. If the pile gets too high for the other camera, you can laugh at me. And then there are 2 skeins of Cosmic Strings 100% Superwash Merino DK, 225 metres, 246 yards. Blue Ocean is that one, and this one is called Sea Salt, and those are going to go with a silver grey base as the colourwork sections of a stranded colourwork sweater, details of which you will hear slightly later, because I have a copy of the pattern for myself to work from, and I have a copy of the pattern courtesy of the designer to use as a giveaway. So there is a giveaway to be announced later. But Foo and B at Cosmic Strings, this is lovely. This is really, really nice. I look forward to that. And just when I say Foo and B at Cosmic Strings, let me dig deeper into the bag. And this time I will say not B, but Foo, you're an evil man, because you have been pushing and pushing and pushing, saying, go on John, you really want it, go on John, you know you like it, because you know that I love this colourway. And this is one of their merino silk and yak fingering weight skeins, and it's 65 superwash merino, 20% silk, 15% yak. It's a 4-ply fingering, 480 metres, 120 grams, and it is downy soft. This is amazingly soft. This is stunning yarn. The colourway is called Thistle, and teals, purples, browns, blacks, greys. It's just an absolutely amazing colourway, and it does scream thistle at you. If you've been in Scotland, there are colours there that are decidedly bits of thistle, and bits of thistle stem, and bits of leaf colour, and but the silk and the yak content make it feel so incredibly wonderful. I gave in this time and I bought it. So hopefully, Foo, I'll have peace and quiet the next time I come to the shop, and you won't be saying, go on John, you know you really like that one. Although knowing you, you'll pick a different colour and I'll be at it again. Oh. What's next? Oh, Old Centrum. These were lying on the counter at Midwinter Yarns, and I thought, ooh, that's an unusual mix of colours. I wonder where that's come from. And I had put a post on Instagram saying that I'd picked this up, and Anna Freeberg, Yarnisty, commented, oh, the Ulcentrum yarn and the Sammy colourway. And I said, I don't think so. And then I realised that they've translated the colour names on the bands to reflect us reading in English. And yeah, the colourway name that they've used is Lapland, but they are the traditional colours of traditional costumes. So yeah, it's a lovely 2-ply DK weight, length 300 metres for 100 grams, I'm saying 100 grams, it might be slightly heavier, but 300 metres at a time, there's plenty of footfall, plenty of mileage in there for me to get something interesting out of that. And I have a funny feeling this might be the front colour that'll go with something else, and this will change. Whether it's a piece of stranded colour work or whether it's a piece of brioche, don't know yet. We'll just have to watch that one and see. But while I was at Midwinter Yarns, there were 3 more skeins that I fell in love with, and here they are. They are chunky, they are Blan, Pelselgarn, it's just absolutely gorgeous. 100 grams, 114 metres per skein to be knitted on 6mm needles. And it's absolutely wonderful. But these 3, the sort of deep red, the burgundy and the violet together, I already have an idea for what these are going to become. And it's a scarf or shawl, and it will be a combination of slip stitches and tuck stitches. It's in my head. The design work in my head is 3/4 complete, and this is nice. I would wear this quite happily. This isn't as toothy as the North Ronaldsy that I have in the hooded bat, and I am delighted with it, absolutely delighted. It's going to make for a lovely addition to my stash, and it's going to be used up quite beautifully. Now, earlier in the year, at Scotland's other premier festival, there are 2 biggies. EYF is the biggest, the next biggest is Perth. And when I was at Perth earlier in the year, I bought one of those from Uist Wool, Rheothut and Spring Tides, DK 100 grams, Cheviot and Swarbles, 245 metres. And I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with it. And then I thought, I had a request a while back for either a DK or 4-ply version of the Comet Shawl, which is published about 18 months ago. And I thought, that colourway in the Comet Shawl, with the sort of ice greys, the blacks and the silver greys and the white, could be absolutely stunning. So the 2 skeins I have of that are going to go into a new version of the Comet Shawl. It was knitted as an Aran originally, and this is going to take that Aran down to a DK version, so there will be extra knitting to achieve the same size. But I think the drape will be different, and I'm actually quite looking forward to redeveloping or updating the pattern. It's going to be really nice, and I like Cheviot and I love Swarbles, and having them blended together to create this yarn is a wonderful idea. The folk at Uist Wool are making a super contribution to what's happening in the country, so well done you guys. Right, let's change mills. Let's go from Uist Wool to the other end of the country, to the Border Mill. And the Border Mill do all sorts of alpaca and silk and alpaca and mohair things, and alpaca tweedy things, and this is their alpaca and mohair DK. 200 gram skeins, about 220 meters in each. The colour is titanium. I'm sure they're both titanium, yeah. And these are going into a cowl for a pattern collection that I'm working on. That pattern collection will contain a cowl, a pair of socks, a hat, possibly a pair of mittens or gloves, fingerless mittens or gloves, and a shawl if anybody wants a shawl. And what I'm doing at the moment is I'm exploring different weights of yarn and slightly different single colours for the background. And those backgrounds are going to be enhanced with colour pops. And the colour pops for this entire collection are coming from these 4-ply minis from Mothy and the Squid, 10 colours, and these are going to be producing those rainbow colour pops for this particular pattern collection. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it at the moment. The development work on the shawl is done, the pattern is done. The pattern itself is finished, and the test knitting for that, the shawl part of that one, is underway, and you're not going to see it until it's finished or until its pattern is published, because it has somewhere else to go. And that's all I can tell you about it. But that is an absolutely stunning yarn for the cowl. It's heavier than I wanted for the shawl, but oh my god, in terms of how soft it is one of the nicest yarns I have handled in many, many years. So that's that one. In that same pattern collection, because there was some mohair in there, I've gone for a BFL and mohair sock yarn. Again, sticking with a grey, a bottle grey, tonal grey, from the Knitting Goddess. And this is 100 grams, 400 meters of 4-ply BFL in mohair. Finding this as a sock yarn to try out, the mohair should make it slightly harder wearing, and it's nice to have a sock yarn that has no nylon in it. After the rant I had about synthetics the other month, I am trying to do my best to try and source some yarns that are synthetic free. And I'm sorry to my friends in the the vegan knitters and crocheters out there, but having done some reading about carbon footprints for production and for decomposition figures, C-cell, Tencel, bamboo, the viscose derivatives like that, I'm seriously having doubts as to whether or not I can, with a clear conscience, knowing what happens when they become grey fibre in waterways and what they do to marine wildlife, say that I'm going to be happy to use them. I have used them and I like them, but I've had my conscience pricked, and I have to be honest about that. So I'm having second thoughts about whether I'm going to continue to use them or recommend using them. But that's me personally. Each of you as individuals has to make your own decision about things like this. Go do some background reading. I am not telling you what articles to read. I'm not telling you what websites to visit. I'm saying I've done my reading, it's pricked my conscience, you go and do yours. You have to make up your own minds about these things. And I know that a lot of these people are so incredibly passionate about doing the best they can, not only for animals but for the environment. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I know that there are loads of cottons and linens and plant fibres which are spun directly from the plant with simple processing without massive chemical input, and I think that's absolutely super if that can work. But no, I'm really intrigued by this mohair and BFL blend to see exactly how it's going to come out. It's going to make a nice sock. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, and speaking of socks, when I was at the Easy Knitter stall, I had enjoyed my previous Easy Knitter sock yarn so much that this one just sort of shouted, "Buy me! Cocktails at Sunset" from the Deeply Wicked range. And it's not as friendly. It does have a nylon content at 25%. And I felt really, really guilty buying it, but we'll give it a try. And when I bought it and I looked at it and I looked at the colours and the colour saturations, I then started to think about acid dyes. And I don't know enough about what acid dyes do to the environment. So I'm going to have to go and start reading about that now. With old age comes, or with great age comes great responsibility, and I'm suddenly feeling as if I'm having to reevaluate a pile of things for myself. Being retired and having time in your hands to sit still is not always a good thing. Now, only 2 batches of yarn to go. Ripples Crafts from Sutherland, not far from where I live, within 50 miles or so. Orange Sea Lichen and Copper Beech, 4-ply, BFL, soft, squidgy, high twist, a new sort of tweedy effect, what are they calling it? Nadanseren. They're nice, just nice tweedy effect yarns, and I thought they would be fun to work with, so why the heck not? I was looking for a nice present for somebody as well, and I thought these might make nice presents. I've got 2 knitters in mind who I wanted nice presents for. So there were those. And last but not least, my ultimate squidge, 50% merino, 50% silk, 210 meters in 100 grams, Heartfelt and Eternal Optimist by Sheila Hewitt, the Dye Ninja. And these are just, oh my god, I think I've died and gone to wool heaven. These are absolutely stunning. Sheila produces some of the nicest, so does Helen at Ripples Crafts. They are both dyers who I have known for a while and whose work I enjoy and respect. And you know something? I am a creature of habit, and I know there were lots of other dyers there, and I know that they have really nice product, and I know I should explore other things, but there's something about, I don't know, brand loyalty, keeping it local, thinking of the yarn footprint. How far has it gone from processing to dyer to festival to whatever. Some people think a lot about things like that before they buy. And there were other yarns which I looked at and I thought, oh my golly gosh, oh heavens, I would love to own a supply of that. And I would love to own a supply of that. And I would love to own a supply of that. And if I owned a supply of all of them, I would be knitting through my entire lifetime and the lifetimes of about 10 other knitters. Generally, the quality of yarns available at EYF this year were outstanding. As always, they were outstanding. The range of vendors was incredible. And I had an absolute whale of a time shopping, chatting to customers, chatting to vendors, and finding everything that I wanted. So from that point of view, it was fun. And I'm going to hand over to me, who will now start with that little section on photographs around stalls and a couple of short interviews. So I'll see you back here after that. Right folks, we're in the Podcasters Lounge at EYF and I have met Anna Friedberg.
Hello.
How are you? How's the trip been?
It's been wonderful. I can't believe I'm here. It's an amazing place to do furniture.
Have you managed to find a favourite yarn?
Yes, I have.
And it is?
I think one of my goals was to find a yarn for Helen Stewart's Mystery Nicola later on this spring.
Nice.
So I found it at Easynet's stand.
Oh, John's work is wonderful.
And he has this beautiful little plump yarn, 2-ply, superwash merino, and MCM I think it was, actually. And it was his special EYF collection.
Oh,
so
good.
they were called Shortbread, Nessie, and Haggis.
Wonderful! Oh no, I mean, I went there yesterday and unfortunately I had to come away with silk yarn and a couple of other bits and pieces, but he's just such a nice person to chat to.
He is.
So, what are the plans for the rest of EYF? Is there anything special that you're still looking to fit in, or?
I think I just hang around here in the podcasting lounge and meet people. So
Wonderful.
That's my goal for today.
And your own podcast is going from strength to strength.
Thank you.
Because they're always great fun. So, is there plans for an EYF edition when you get home?
You mean with my podcast?
Yeah.
I should probably be telling you about what I've been done. I'm not sure when I'll be able to podcast again.
Well, that's good because I always look forward to Yarnisty.
Thank you. But I have a goal to make it during this month.
Wonderful.
Later this month.
Oh, that would be great. So, how long do you have before you travel home?
I'll be going home tomorrow afternoon.
Right.
So today I have a ticket to the reading with Kate Davis.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I'm so happy about that.
That's going to be great fun.
I hope so.
Well, thank you for taking the time to stop and chat to me.
Thank you.
And I will see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, folks, as you know, I recorded several interviews, and for some reason the sound has gone completely gaga on them. So here we have Carola Cass, and behind her the wonderful Patricia, exchanging orders for a cup of tea first thing in the morning. In comes Louise, our Loozle in the background there, and we were having a wonderful time chatting away. This is Nella the Finn. And Nella also gave me a stunning interview about her time at Edinburgh, and the sound failed to import. And the saddest of all is Mars. We did a 5-minute interview, my good friend Mars Hay Brownberry, and we were having a wonderful laugh, and what we got was zilch. Well, here we are, Kirsty Glass, and of course, Sprite 966. All making me feel wonderful. And then I wander round the concourse, and who do you see? There's Stephen West doing what he does best, chatting away to customers. And the stall, the Stephen and Penelope stall,
had such a wonderful range of colours and yarns. It was hard not to want to go back. Baskets for holding your yarn, never go out of stock. Prado de Lana, wonderful. Helen from Ripples Crafts, I was getting shaky by this point. But Carol Feller, I love the newer yarn. Hey Mama Wolf, so busy you just can't get into some of the stalls. And I thought it's easier. The Border Mill stall, I'm going to go and get a closer look at them. A nice long chat to them because they're going to be processing yarn for me. And then I met Craig from Craig's Crochet Creations. Back to Cosmic Strings, good old Foo with a smile on his face there. And across to Textile Garden, buttons galore, but I wasn't tempted. Now, Pearlescence's colour range was absolutely amazing. And next to Pearlescence was this one. And I loved the pastels, I loved the shimmer on some of them, and I forgot to check the name of the damn stall. This one Janet loved. The gradients were super, and of course the border tart. Lindsay, I claim the shake is because I've been on the drink, although I haven't. Mayak, Yak, it tells you itself. Jameson Smith, oh my god, what a fight to get a picture in there. Knock and Do Mill, not as busy as some others. And the Queen of Pearls herself. And I was having a lengthy discussion with this woman about her move, change of location, and then Mothy and this squid, Janet's favourite yarn producer and one of mine. Absolutely super. A general wander for a couple of minutes to try and get my breath back, and Anki and Beg, beautiful accessories, great stitch markers, Eurodale yarns, Eurodale mill, lovely. And then I met Cece on my way back to the Podcasters Lounge where I met... And I hope my hand didn't shake when I was doing that. It's wonderful. No, I love your photographs. I've been promising to take Janet to lunch since 12:30.
Hello folks. And that's the end of the EYF bit for this year. What an amazing time it was. One of the final bits of EYF, which I haven't thrown up here, there were some interesting prezzies and badges and things given away. One of the vendors who I didn't buy from, but who absolutely impressed me and who I'm going to mention, just because I would go back to look at the products in more detail. Prado de Lana. Prado de Lana's farm specific, right down to sometimes sheep specific yarns were stunning. Really, really, really nice. And that echoed really nicely with me because of one of the items that's coming up further on. But I got a present while I was there from Sunnyside Handmade. I'll pop it up here because it's slightly closer. Got two lovely stitch marker and progress keeper from Karen, Sunnyside Handmade, and Karen is of course French, and Karen noticed that the Dragon Scale sock had just been released in German, and she said to me, would you like your pattern translated into French? And I said I would love to. I said I hadn't actually thought about doing a next one yet. And she said, well, I'll do your French translations. I would love to do them if you don't mind. And I know that Karen in the past has translated patterns for other famous podcasting and designing males, specifically Nathan. And I know her work is exceptional. And I said, well, thank you so much. That is really appreciated. When we get home, we'll do the finishing, exchanging contacts. We chat on Instagram, we'll swap the email addresses, I'll send you the master files, and feel free to, copies of the files, feel free to look at them at your leisure. There's no time scale, there's no rush. Look at this, see that? The beard is really, I'm really enjoying having the long beard. There's no mad time scale on it, there's no mad rush on it. And she was just so nice, and effectively has said that she will work her way through all of the patterns that I have, making sure that there's a French translation of all of them. And I had to say thank you. And I had to say I needed a giving. I needed a bit of me that went as a thank you. And when she was telling me this, I was wearing the original prototype for Travelling Textures, which is knitted in lamb's wool and mohair and wool blend. And it was warm, and I had it wrapped around my neck, and I was feeling quite warm and cosy in it, and she was being so nice. So I gave her my warm and cosy. Oh, the sun has just blinded me. The sun has just come out from between two clouds, and as you can see from the big black stripe, it is blasting its way through the conservatory window, and it's coming through at such a high angle that even if I alter the blinds on that side of the house, it's not going to make any difference. I see a cloud moving in, so it'll ease off again in a second. So I gave her my shawl, purely and simply as my token of feeling extreme gratitude from someone who's been a friend for a long time, offering to do something really nice for me. And her reaction was so emotional, I was stunned. She filled up, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And I thought I'd offended her at the moment. And then she said, no, she said, I'm just so, she said, I don't believe you've just done that. You can't do that. And I said, yes, I can. It's appropriate to the situation. That I just want to do something nice in return. So have that. It's the original idea, it's the original prototype for Travelling Textures, so please have it. So she has gone home with Travelling Textures #1, and I hope she has great health to wear it. It was a lovely experience, and it was so nice to actually, I have only ever parted with 2 prototype shawls, and that is #2. And they have to go to people, they've both gone to people who are really, really special people who have gone out of their way to try and help me. So that was the least I could do. So Karen, have great health and joy to wear that, and that cloud has just moved again and I can't see the camera. Let's hope the camera can see me. So that's the end of EYF. So let's move on to the next section. We'll have a quick jump over. Oh, an hour and 2 minutes. That's not too long. I thought we would be worse, but then again, I haven't edited in that footage from the festival yet. So, Rhodes. I've just nudged the table and nudged the camera. The Rhodes Retreat is now 8-9 weeks away. People are getting excited. We now have people attending the retreat from Scotland, England, Ireland, Norway, the United States of America, Canada, Greece, and Australia Australia has joined us in the last 10 days. 10 days ago I got an absolutely stunning inquiry from Carmen in Brisbane. And Karen, I know that you watch things like the Instagram live feeds and you watch the podcasts if you're watching this one. I've been delighted to be speaking to you and to welcome you to the Rhodes Retreat family for this year. I hope your journey is safe and you have an absolutely wonderful time with us. I'm going to have to send you some email later today so that you can get your class choices in. So I think I've reached the stage now where I've had a couple of last minute cancellations through ill health, and those of you who have had to do that, I know you watch the podcast and I am so sorry to have lost you. There hasn't been a single story come in or a single message or contact made where I haven't felt absolutely horrid for you. It's not the end of the world. The retreat's going to run anyway, and I'm just sorry you're going to miss it. And I'm glad I've been able to help in some way with some of you. One person who was incredibly keen had paid for their entire retreat back in August and has had to cancel through ill health at this late date. And I was fortunate enough to be able to say, yeah, here's everything back that I can get back to you. The holiday balance, the financial details are unimportant, but I was glad to be able to help. It's been such a nice bunch of people to work with. It's been amazing. I have a couple of unusual requests to deal with and some information to get out and some additional some additional staying and visiting times to organise for folk. That's absolutely fine. And we are all looking forward to going to Rhodes. I am getting excited. I know that the other knitters are getting excited. I met some of them when I was at EYF. So Carola is excited, Grace is excited, Ellie's excited, Nathan's excited, I'm excited. Margaret Tout, who's coming with us, came and spoke to me and she's getting excited. And I know, do you know, I was in EYF, I was in Edinburgh and I didn't see Pom. That's unusual. I normally bump into her. I wonder what happened this year. I hope you were there, Pom. Sorry if I didn't see you. There are additional bits being added to the Rhodes Retreat. I can now confirm, having spoken to several of my dyers who are going on the retreat, that we will have a marketplace available and that yarns will be purchasable at that marketplace. I haven't had confirmation yet from my friend who produces project bags, but I'm hoping, since she is going to be on the retreat as well, that she is going to be bringing some of her project bags. I have a funny feeling that my small Perth buddy, who organises Perth Festival of Yarn, might have some Perth Festival of Yarn merchandising stuff with her. And I think that's about it. The next topic on this particular podcast is yarn. And that is because these, as I said earlier, were second quality bits of fleece, which I washed and combed for myself and I plan to spin and to use as yarn. The first quality, the best bits of the fleeces, have gone into a big box because, as many of you know, in the autumn I was gifted 45 kilos of fleece. Far too much for me to process myself, but I did make a commercial booking with my new friends at the Border Mill. And at the festival I had taken them some balls of fluff, some spun yarn and a little bit of knitted yarn for them to evaluate before I sent them off the rest of the first batch of fleece. So my yarn story starts here, and Caithness Croft yarns by Beardychiel are having their first batch spun in April. And whether they come back by the end of April to me and they're here in time for me to take to Rhodes, I don't know. The first batch is not a massive batch. It will only be maybe 100 to 100 and... I'm hoping for about 100 to 120 skeins as a test batch. Of course, I'm saying 100 to 120 skeins. That's assuming that I skein it as 100 grams. So if I'm scanning it as 100 grams, there's going to be about 100 skeins available. There will be about 120 come back, I think. But I have already decided that some of these need to go for evaluation purposes to different knitters and designers around the country. So I've already spoken to a few, and they've said, yeah, we'll be happy to take 100 grams and play with it, swatch it, knit with it, test it, do something with it, and tell you how it comes out. And that feedback is really, really important to me, because based on their feedback, I can then decide on whether or not the next major batch goes off. Now, enthusiasm for the project has been quite good, and local farmers in Caithness who are burying and burning their fleece have contacted me and said, look, if you can take it away and do something constructive with it, have it. Just come and take it away. So I will be, this clipping season, going to visit several friends who have been kind enough to say that they either bury or burn, and they're happy to just give me it to take away if I want to make the investment in it. So next year's batch is going to be bigger, because there will still be the remainder of the batch that's here, plus what comes in. I think I might need a bigger shed. So this, by the time we get to this time next year, I'm hoping to have had the bigger batches processed. I may have to commit to making bigger batch bookings with the Border Mill pretty quickly, if that's the case, because they've already said that their bookings for 2019 have gone really, really quickly. So we will suck it and see. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to book a couple of slots in 2019 to get 2 batches off to them. And that will be us in production. And Caithness Croft yarns, and I will try and keep them farm specific. It may be that 1 or 2 blends have to happen, because one farm has told me that they're giving me all browns and blacks, and somebody else has told me they're giving me all creams, all whites. And if I want greys, I might have to take some from 2 farms, but I can list the 2 farms. You know, I can say black from such and such, white from such and such, the blend is, and give them appropriate local names. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm going to have fun. It produces yarn. It stops a byproduct of farming, which happens for the health of the animal, from being wasted. So I feel quite positive about that. We'll suck it and see. There's my phone buzzing in the background. I don't know who's trying to contact us today. It may be daughter, because she has been violently sick and has asked me. Oh God, no, there's nothing important. So that's that one. So yeah, Caithness Croft specific yarns coming soon from a Beardychiel near you. Ho-ho. And that takes me to the last segment today. Oh no, I said I would do a finished object, didn't I? There are 2 finished objects. I will go and get them. Countdown, 3, 2, 1, and I'll be back. I'm back. Sorry about that. But I did say I would put in a couple of quick finished objects. So finished object number 1. The fluff that you've been looking at spins up quite well. I took some of the Rolags, blended them with some of the Ryland that I had, dark brown from just before Christmas, and they carded together to produce that sort of white and grey marl. And that white and grey marl was then thrown delicately, I'm showing it to the other camera, and you'll be watching it while you're hearing me ramble on. That marl was then soaked in water that had several tablespoons of vinegar in it, and then popped into some cling film on an old ceramic plate, had some drops of food colouring put on top of it, and it was then squished around to let the food colouring spread through it, and it then had 2.5 minutes in the microwave, and it was left to go cold, and that was the result. Some bog standard green food colouring from Dr. Utka, and it produced this lovely sort of pale green. Second skein was then treated the same way, but with a blue food colouring, and the little ball that's left of the blue I have misplaced, and the 2 were then thrown onto some needles with a tubular cast on and knitted just 4 rows about, 2 and 2 rib, and then 4 rows of or a 4-row moss stitch pattern in the body of the hat, and ordinary moss stitch, and 4 sets of decreases on the top, just to produce a beanie for me in my hand spun. And I have worn it all weekend at EYF because it was freezing cold, absolutely freezing. And you know something? I didn't feel any of the cold through my woolly bonnet. I was absolutely delighted with it, and the colours are absolutely fine. They've stayed nice and fast. I've had no running, I've had no contamination if they've been wet and sitting on anything else. So it's really dyed nice and fast with simple food colourings. I don't have a lot of dyes at home, and I thought I could keep it natural, or I can play to see if what's it going to look like when it takes a dye. Because if dyers want to buy this as a wholesale product and do something with it, I want them to know that they're going to get good value for money out of it. So I had to have a play. So I'm absolutely delighted with it. Stunning little hat, nice and springy. I like moss stitch. I like single moss stitch. I like double moss stitch. Treble moss stitch I've put in that socks. This is 4 rows and 4 rows just to give the stripes some definition. Such a nice simple concept. It creates a nice fabric. That was finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 was the test knit for the Pentland Firth shawl. And here is the second knit. This is the one that was used for the pattern photographs of the Pentland Firth shawl, and it's hard to see because of the shadows that are hitting it. The photographs in the pattern are slightly better, and there are I don't know if you can see, big wave patterns with lacy tops coming up that curved wing. There's 1.5 at the top, there's 1 there. Then we go to a smaller wave pattern that's just cresting and no more. Then to a little spumy wave, then to a little single wave, and then just some simple trickly waves all the way down to nothing. And it's a pattern which starts at one corner, you knit up a wing, you knit across the central panel, and the central panel is designed in such a way that it's long enough to come all the way down my back to my bottom, and all the way down Janet's back to Janet's bottom. Excuse me. Well folks, I'm back, and here we have the continuing story of the Pentland Firth shawl after the telephone call interruption. I had talked you up knitting from one wing up to the central body. The textures in the central body are textures which I have used to sort of remind me of some of the textures and some of the striation and some of the things which I see in cliffs around Caithness. I've used bits of cable to break up the panels. No cable needle required, the whole thing can be done just on your needles. And then that first wing is knitted in reverse, and specific charts have been created for all of that, and the pattern and the entire shape has been planned. I was talking about the length. Yeah, it comes all the way down to the bottom of your bum, because my wife complains about having shawls. Janet says there's no point in having a shawl when the bottom of your back gets cold, and she's right. You know, if you're wearing a shawl and the bottom of your back is getting pretty damn chilly, that's not a good thing. So I've made it long enough that it goes all the way down to the top of your bum. The bottom of your back inside your coat stays warm. The shape, if I actually take it out, you'll see that it's actually Y-shaped. And it's designed in such a way that I've allowed for the ergonomic shape of the human neck and shoulders. I've used a little bit of anthropometric data about the width of shoulders to let me create something which, when it drapes and hangs at the front, based on the average angle of shoulders, if you put that around your neck, it will fall fairly evenly down the centre of the front of your body so that it vanishes inside the front of your coat. So you get nice coverage of an extra layer all the way down your back and something that's easy down the front of your coat. And if I flip that over my back at the moment, I know that the sun is scalping it down here at the moment, so it's far from being. Just get rid of any lumps and bumps. And it does sit quite nicely at the front. I'm really quite happy with the way it sits. It's not too wide. It's also long enough that if you're someone who specifically likes a nice big wraparound and tuck in, rather than something dangling in your coat, there's enough there to go round the neck 2 or 3 times and give you a really good something which will bumble up around the back of your ears, plenty of layers to keep your neck lovely and toasty while you have your coat on, as well as giving you that almost woolly cape dangling down the back, keeping your shoulders and your back warm. Now, when I showed it to the younger female members of the family, those under the age of 35, I used to be able to say under the age of 30, and then one of them got older, and she'll watch this and she'll come and she'll moan at me for admitting that. But hey, that's life, darling. Live with it. They prefer them dangling round t'other way. And dangling round t'other way, see that beard, it just gets in the way beautifully. It does make for really a nice neckerchief. And the ends will tuck under quite nicely, and it will hang there lovely in the front so that as your coat closes around it, you're not going to get a draft if your coat isn't closed all the way up. It works quite well. This yarn is wool and silk and came from Kincraig Fabrics in Brora. 830 grams was what they had left in a bag. They still have some on the shelf, but I bought 830 grams of it, and the 830 grams cost me £19. I was absolutely astonished at the price. It was really good value for money. This is 2 strands of 4-ply held together to knit as a DK. The whole shawl weighs about 250 grams. It's not heavy. It drapes really, really well. It's a lovely yarn. It's produced a nice fabric. It was quite popular at EYF. People liked it. It's on Ravelry as the Pentland Firth shawl, and there are some hard copies as well. I decided that the inspiration for it had been so much fun that I would use 1 or 2 as I was meeting people for dinner and things, for promotional purposes. So I took copies to EYF with me, and it's a bog standard written pattern, but everything that's written is also charted. So the entire pattern is in 5 charts. It's available on Ravelry. I have about 10 hard copies. So anyone who would rather buy a hard copy can email me directly and say, any chance of buying a hard copy? At the same time, because I was going away, I made a pile of hard copies of the Hooded Bat. Because for those of you who haven't seen the Hooded Bat, it is another one which is a written pattern which contains charts, and there are only 2 charts in this one. The chart for the hood and a chart which is half of the body, and that is so big that it appears in the hard copy as a separate pull-out contained within the pattern. Those are available directly from me, and I will stick them. I'll stick them on the Beardychiel website to say that there are hard copies available directly from me. Electronic copies you can get from Ravelry. So the Hooded Bat and the Pentland Firth, hard copies available from Beardychiel if you wish. And that's the yarny bit, that's the patterns, that's the finished objects. That only leaves me one thing to chat about, and that's Perth Festival of Yarn. Edinburgh Yarn Festival is over for the year. Oh, Beardychiel out and about as well, I almost forgot. Anyone who's watching who's in and around the Aberdeen area, I have a booking in for 2 days teaching at Wool for You in Aberdeen on the weekend of the 5th, 6th, 7th of May. So if you're interested in Beardychiel's classes that they have booked, then please feel free to contact Wool for You, speak to Faye, their manager, and she'll tell you about the 3 classes that I'm delivering for them. She has all of the course descriptions, and if you're interested in, let me see, what have we got? We have a brioche class, we have a Tunisian crochet class, and a shawl design class. So if you're in the Aberdeen area and that's what you're looking for on the 5th, around about the 5th, 6th, 7th of May, so I'm teaching on the Saturday and the Sunday, please contact Wool for You directly and they'll give you all the details that you need. Almost missed that one. How could I forget to put in an advert for that? Giveaway. Now, I was kindly offered, and I mentioned it earlier when I was looking at my stash, a copy of the Beardychiel sweater by Skandia Knits. And it is a lovely Norwegian colour work yoke and a nice simple sweater body, simple sleeves, knitted collar down, and I love the charts. Ellie's design work is wonderful. The way she has concealed the increases and the way she determines how many stitches are required for the increases is all beautifully explained. Just 3 colours involved, a light, a medium and a dark tone. Absolutely stunning pattern. Please, please, please go and look at it. I think you'll find it's an absolutely wonderful pattern to read, and I think it's something which many of you would love to knit. It's on Ravelry, and I am really proud to say that Ellie has said have a copy to use as a giveaway. So if you would like to win the Beardychiel sweater, and I hope I'm getting the pronunciation right, please forgive me, Ellie, if I've messed it up. Messed it up. Oh dear God, I can't even speak English. You can go to the Ravelry group and you'll see Skandia sweater giveaway. And in there you're going to have to make a post. So you're going to have to like and subscribe to the channel, sign up for the Ravelry group, and leave me a post which tells me, the name of any brand of yarn which you can source from Norway. So let's look for brands of yarn which you can easily source from Norway. Now I have some Swedish yarn here today, and I have some Norwegian yarn in my stash, but let's see how well informed you guys are out there. Get out looking for Norwegian yarns, because some of them might be absolutely perfect for the Beardychiel sweater that you might win a pattern for. So names of Norwegian yarns, and we will close that giveaway. Let's see, what's today's date? Today's date is the 19th of March. We will close it on Beardychiel's birthday, 31st of March, midnight. Between the 31st of March and the 1st of April. Midnight, Greenwich Mean Time. We will close that giveaway. So, that's the giveaway. Now, finally, on to Perth Festival of Yarn. I'm going to come back to this camera with this lovely shadow back over my face again, and I apologise for it, but there's nothing I suppose I could reposition the cameras, but I'll be honest, where the shadow is across my eyes, I'm not having to squint, so I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to tell you. I have been chatting away to Eva Christie at the festival, not at the festival, on video calls on Messenger, and occasionally on the phone. And you know we chat like that, and I've been telling you that for months and months and months and months. And she has reminded me that we have an exciting week this week, because at the end of the week, on the 24th of March at 10 AM, a lot of the information on this Perth Festival of Yarn for this year will go live. The vendors list will go live. The tutors list will go live. Dates and times will be confirmed, I believe, and I don't know. What else was she saying? She was saying that this date is going to be a big date. So there's been no previous information on who the tutors are going to be or who the vendors are going to be, but she does tell me that based on last year, there are even more vendors who want to come to Perth. And she tells me that the international component of the people who want to come and vend is changing dramatically. So I'm really excited. I want to see what the lists say. So please, 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 if you're interested, if you're a Perth Festival of Yarn regular, and I know there are people who do Perth and do Edinburgh and do as many little local events as they see advertised because you're just yarn addicts like me, get on Saturday morning, watch social media, Instagram, Facebook, or pop onto the website, and all of the information will be there for you to look and think, oh, that's a name I like, oh, that's someone I've seen before, oh, that's new. And start to get excited, because now starts the build up after EYF for the lead in ready for Perth Festival of Yarn 2018 at the Dewar Centre in September. And I'm excited because I enjoy going to both. I love the festivals I go to. So I am really looking forward to seeing all of the information that she has been hinting at go live. And I know I help with the website. I know I help with the website, but I've asked her not to give me information until Thursday this week, because I've got other things that I'm needing to finish myself before I do that little bit of cutting and pasting and formatting. So I haven't even seen the list yet, and I am starting to twitch. Yeah, call me twitchy. I'm going to have an episode. Just yarn episode. The fumes are getting to me. Enough lunacy. We are on easily an hour and a half long video, an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, that was me cut off in my prime, as it were. What can I say? There's been a slight hiccup with the end of the video. For some reason, the last little bit that was on the master video card did not import. I'm not going to worry about it, because all it was me saying, pardon me, from Beardychiel, keep happy, keep knitting. Oh, my mind's gone. I've forgotten exactly what I said. Keep happy. Keep knitting. Cheerio.